What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of my off-season franchise. In case you missed episode 1, we are currently rebuilding the Chicago White Sox. Episode 1, we just kind of took a brief look at the team itself, kind of went over what we're looking to do, and then did an in-depth look at the scouting process. So now we are through the scouting process. I scouted all the regional positions I could and the individual players I could. Now we are prepared for the draft. So this is the exciting part because this is when we'll have the draft, and then immediately following, the trade deadline is upcoming. So we'll still be simulating every game, and we'll just try and change our team for the better to kind of push for next season. Looking at the team, it might be a little more difficult than I anticipated, but I am up for the challenge, and I think we can definitely do it. I think it'll be a completely new look. I'm still undecided on kind of the players that I want to keep and release, so I think a lot will depend on what we do in the draft and then who who is wanted in the at the trade deadline. Currently, we sit at 36 and 49. This is perfectly okay because, as I said, this is kind of a throwaway year as we're using it just to kind of rebuild. Um, we are fourth in the Central, so still doing pretty well. I would like them to tank a little bit so we can get a better draft pick for next year. We have 15 this year, but if you look at the calendar, as I said, we are currently on our last week of scouting. I just kind of picked some guys here, one guy that was not ranked, and then one of the catchers outside of my regional scouting. So those we'll see when we actually get into the draft room. So without further ado, what we'll do now is we're just going to hop right into the draft. Um, I have some guys in mind. I'll show you kind of how I set up my draft board. And then hopefully we get some guys we won't know for until the end of the month exactly how good they are. But I'm hoping with the guys I've looked at, it looks like I've got a pretty good idea of what I want to do. Um, and we'll take a look at that when we get into the scouting room. So we're just going to simulate to the 8th. The draft is on the 9th. And we'll just quickly go through this. Okay, keep on 60 day. So then we'll say no here, and then you go immediately into the draft. With the draft, once you start it, you can't stop the timer. There's no way to pause. You can skip forward, but I like to set up my prospects beforehand. Just makes it a lot easier. Makes it, in my mind, go quicker than uh, trying to find these guys. You know, with three, I think it's 3 minutes you get. So we'll take a look at these guys again. We have in that first round we have the 15th pick, so it's kind of a tough spot to be. I've kind of leaned towards just going towards a position that I really want, that I think the guy might fall to us, and where I am kind of liking the first pick is somewhere in here. I think one of these guys might fall. Um, we did basically scout Nomo, and he ended up being much higher than originally projected. That's kind of what drew my eye here. But all three of these guys, this guy looks like he might be, kind of a no brainer. He's going to hit no matter what. But I'm liking what I'm seeing with Nomo. He looks like he might be, good contact guy, good speed guy, maybe top of the order. Again, just trying to go for best available. I want guys in the field as early as next year, just because looking at our roster, um, with the turnover and stuff, it might be a completely different look team. So again, we have like 3 or 4 guys to choose from, so it's a pretty safe bet here. 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that are all in our top 15. So this is a spot where I think a second baseman is a good spot. So we'll go over kind of what I'm looking at as far as position wise, and then I'll just show you how I kind of build my list here. So always with this too, if the guy that we want isn't there, I kind of fall back to a pitcher. We've scouted all of them, so we know who's good, and it's kind of an easy out there if we don't feel comfortable maybe drafting a player. We can I feel safe drafting a pitcher there. So pitcher's always going to kind of be a focus. Um, and with that being said, one of the pitchers that I like is actually a closing pitcher. He just moved up from not ranked all the way up to sixth. So the reason I'm not considering him in the first round is because the MLB draft rank is not ranked. So I'm hoping we might be able to scoop him up later on, maybe third, fourth round. But that's a guy I'm looking at there. Um, I think all these guys, like I said, closing pitching tends to be pretty deep in this game. So I think we can get somebody there that can make a difference on our team much sooner than maybe a traditional position player in the fourth round or something like that. But as far as looking at the players, obviously we didn't scout everything. We did scout shortstop kind of heavy, just a couple regions. As you can see, it's about half of what I scouted. There are a couple guys I like in there. However, the depth looks to be in left field. We have a non-ranked guy there that's kind of drawing my interest, but you can see like that guy is he actually dropped on our board, so I'm not sure. My guess is age. Maybe his potential is kind of maxed out there, but um, there just seems to be a lot deeper of a pool there. Um, we didn't scout center field a lot just because of Luis Robert. Right field was barren. So as far as the two position players, as you saw, I was scouting that catcher as well, so he ended up dropping a little bit here. But as far as the position players, catcher might be a spot, shortstop might be a spot, but I think second base and left field might be those kind of key spots. So we're gonna kind of key in there and maybe find a guy. As far as everything else, though, it does kind of seem like it's a little bit of a maybe a lesser draft as far as uh, position players go. Because when we look at the starting pitchers, they just all seem to jump out. There's tons of depth there. Again, I'm just kind of looking at the guys that are scouted and then the potential, right? In 84 to 96. Now, granted, he's 40, but again, that's somebody we can probably rely on, late second round, early third round, if not later if he drops. So again, getting bargains there. If you're willing to sacrifice their overall rating, you can find a lot of A's and B's in here. And if they don't work out or fit the time frame you need, you can always bundle them up as a bargaining chip and ship them off as well. So the starting pitching is always something I look for, and tend to have a lot of success there. So with that being said, basically in my prospect list here, so all that I'm gonna do is just kind of go through my scouted list and add the guys that I think I might be able to get. Like some of these guys probably I don't stand a chance at getting. Um, so I won't add them, but we'll start with like Cordero, just because we know we want him, and I'm just gonna go down my scouted list. So we scouted a lot of guys, and the reason that I kind of go off the scouted list and add to my prospect list in the draft is because it's a much safer bet based on the scouts that we have. As long as we hired good scouts, we can trust them in their decisions. Now, sometimes I kind of veer away from it. Sometimes I do look at the full draft list, but it seems to work that just the guys that we scouted are pretty close to where their draft rank is. You can kind of assume, guys, let's say 140, he's going to be probably that guy for sure probably will be in the 50s or something like that. So you kind of have to assume that the guys that you're drafting in the draft slots are going to be that good. So you're very rarely are you going to find somebody in the fifth or sixth that's like an 80 or something like that, overall. Which is why the non-ranked guys moving up is big. But typically, my list ends up consisting of like 25 to 30 guys that I scouted, and then I can have an easier place to kind of find all the guys that I know are scouted in safer bets. And then I feel like it expedites the process just a little bit. So, with that time limit in there, it makes sense to do it. So, let me go through. Like I said, we added um, Cordero, and then I'm just going to go down the line. Like Portillo might um, drop. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. Nomo, another guy, um, Abraham Crook, and majority of the guys you're probably going to put on here. So it might be more than 25, 30, just depending on how much you scouted and kind of the talent pool itself. So let me get through here and get these guys added. Um, and then we're going to start the draft. This will just take a little bit of time to get everybody added here. So all right, so we have our list set and we are ready to draft. I think we got a good idea of kind of what we're doing. Hopefully, everything falls as it may. So when you go to the draft, those first three picks are gonna kind of be. If you're not in the first three picks, they're gonna be short videos of the picks the guys that are taken. So take care of that real quick. And normally they're pretty close to top five guys. Sometimes they reach a little bit. Um, like that's clearly a reach. Or I'm sorry, I was looking at his age. Uh, two of two, or whatever, however you want to call it. Two on our list, two on the list. So pretty much what we expect here. Let's see. Dan Barry, 1-1. We didn't scout him because he's a center fielder. Didn't think we could get him. So that's why you kind of got to look at your draft position and make sure that you don't draft guys kind of outside of it, especially in the first round. Oh, so there was one of our second basemen that I thought might drop. He didn't. So we'll kind of see how it goes. So from there, basically what you do, you just sim to your next pick or however you want to do it if you want to watch it. And it looks like, let's see. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, the closing pitcher that's good to have there. I mean, not maybe not in the first. He's five overall for us. We have kind of Cordero sitting in the wings, so I'm hoping he can drop to three or four. Again, this was the list that we just created here in the middle. Um, that's why it's easier to kind of see. What your scouts think are the best players available. So where we're gonna look is probably these three guys: Nomo, Whitmore, and Griffin. So Griffin's draft rank is a little bit lower, so he might be there in the second round. Leaves Nomo and Whitmore. We were scouting heavy on second base. We thought it was a deep position. This guy's probably more defensive, and that guy's pretty good there. Oh man, plays more positions. Man, that's a hard to say. Um, I mean, I think we gotta stick with our gut and go second base. 27-9, 59-77. I mean, they're basically the same same player as far as what we scouted on them. Um, Man, it is a toss up here. I think what we're gonna do. I think we're gonna go Nomo. I think we're gonna go second base. I think it's a harder position to find, This is me assuming that we're going to hit on a first round pick. Uh, See, so again, this is like where, one guy could be, you know, outside of the potential values that you scouted. One guy can exceed it. So this is kind of where the luck comes in. I think we're going to go with Nomo here. We knew he wanted a second baseman, so that's what we'll kind of do. Going to draft Robert Nomo in the first round. Kind of shot up our board, and hopefully he pans out from Japan here. All right, so our next pick, again, as we thought, Cordero is still there. I am going to hold off for now drafting him just because he was not a not ranked prospect. So it looks like the next position player, because we know he wanted left field, um, is a center fielder. We can always move Jim Bay, but there looks like there's a lot of starting pitching here. We can go with like a Moynihan. I don't like his age, but like where his potential's at. We can go the Moynihan. Castaneda is pretty good. He's only a year younger. Richie Ruffin, not ranked prospect. That is tough to see. I mean, his stamina is just high. Okay. I mean, he might be the only guy available later on. Okay. And there was something about Richie Ruffin I thought too. But anyways, Edwin Barris, another guy. We have him at 55. So if you want to go best available, that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to go Nicholas Moynihan starting pitching. Make sure we get our starting pitching. We'll probably pick a couple just because there's a lot of them. So we'll draft Nicholas Moynihan in the second. Again, pretty good. He's a switch hitter, which is awesome. No, I mean he's another one that jumped up our draft board, so might have reached for him a little bit there, but he was best available for our scouts, other than that closer. So that's why we went there. And let's go to the third round here. Again, Cordero is still there, and all those starting pitching is still there. So we didn't really have to go starting pitching in the second round. I thought there might be a run on those guys. But it looks like we've got some position players here. I don't know if I want to go back to back starting pitching just because I want these guys playing quickly. I want like position players. And I know we scouted left field, so we got Ronald Daniels there. He's 18, pretty good, spread with the potential. Can play both positions. He jumped up our draft board too. Where are we in the draft rank? 91. Okay, so if you look at it this way, it's 91. He's not going to be there next time around. 119. I'm looking at the MLB draft rank. Oh, so I guess he's 124. So he might be there. I mean, that's pushing it. So if we want to get, again, that's pretty good. You can see the difference in those numbers. That's third round talent, fourth round talent. So do we just kind of make sure we get the position player here? That might be the best bet. I don't know if we didn't go shortstop in round one. I don't know if I want to go shortstop round three. Just because we got that second baseman. I know it didn't say he could move to short, but I think we can move him to short. So I think maybe like a left field power bat. It's looking like pretty good steal and speed. Man, I really want. There's more left fielders here. Okay, so these guys are way down. So if you want a left fielder, my guess is get him now. I'm hoping that Cordero lasts until the fourth round because that's where we're going to take him. So we'll go Ronald Daniels in the third round. Again, I liked where his potential sat. His overall, he could be a complete dumpster fire. But if he's got good potential, I'm all about it. I'm all about potential. All right, send him to the next pick. Oh man, I thought he was gone. Oh, so he is still there. Robert Cordero. I think we're gonna scoop him here. We could do shortstop again. These players are not gonna be, the guys that are actually, you know, where their draft rank is for the MLB. They're probably not gonna be very good. I'm not assuming Robert Daniels is gonna be very good, but we got our left fielder. Um, so I'm kind of curious about our non-ranked prospects here. I mean that guy's 6 overall for our scouts. So I think that's a steal in the fourth. We're gonna go ahead and scoop him. I think that's no brainer. I'm surprised he lasts that long. I held out, and the only thing I'm worried about, he is 21, so he might, but if he can hop up to the bigs or something like that, if he maxes out when we get him, I'm all for it. So Robert Cordero in the fourth. Oh boy. Okay. So now we got some left fielders, catcher. I mean, do we do what we did in the third and just say, hey, we know we want a catcher? Or do I go best available? I could have sworn there was something about Richie Ruffin, though. Was he a junior college guy? Let me see if I'm missing something here. Ah, got it. So he is injured. I knew there was something about him. Um, so yikes. I've never selected an injured player, so I don't know um, if they are, if they handle it normally, where he's out for 3 months and then he comes back. I do know that it can potentially affect um, their overall rating and stuff like that. So, I mean, this guy would be a huge risk. Rayleigh Thompson. I mean, we didn't scout him a lot. He's 88th, 48th. I mean, they're still so they know he's hurt, and they're saying he's the 48th best prospect. Man, just trying to think what I want to do here. We already went left field. Again, he's not ranked, so he might be there next round anyways. Rayleigh Thompson, huh? Also not ranked. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try, since they're both not ranked, I'm gonna hope that I can get Richie Ruffin here, even though he's hurt. We're gonna try it, and then Rayleigh Thompson right behind him because they're both not ranked. I'm gonna say forget it with our catchers. We have a young catcher coming up. Those guys are way down there. So we're gonna do Richie Ruffin. We're just gonna do best available. I know he's injured. I know it's a no-no. I've never done it before, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully Rayleigh Thompson is there for us. And there he is. Okay, so another non-ranked guy. Like I said, these non-ranked guys stick around because the other teams don't scout them. So we did have some guys. We did have some guys like hop off the board, but I mean, you know, more often than not, these guys tend to hit. I mean, that injury really has me worried, but we'll do Rayleigh Thompson. So we did 3 starting pitchers. One guy we're kind of certain he's going to be pretty decent, and then 2 guys that are pretty risky. But I feel good about our second baseman we picked. Uh, okay, so it's come to an end. I want to see if they say anything about that injury. I think they did. So they didn't. So um, I don't know. We'll just go about our daily business, I guess. Exit draft. Okay, So draft is done, and then from there you'll have basically every 3 days an opportunity to sign these guys. Um, During that time, though, we need to trade some players because the trade deadline is at the end of the month. So what we're gonna do is first and foremost, I'm gonna save. All right, so I saved, and then what we're gonna do is um, I'm gonna just go through the All Star break. I don't. It does not bother me not to play it or not. Um, I'm not that close with my team, anyways. So don't see. I got banged up earlier. Okay. All right, and then today's the day to sign draft picks. So what you do is you just hop in to sign draft picks. You'll be able to see all your guys. Still no rankings yet. Um, not rankings, ratings, I guess. But what I do is I just go top down. I try and like Cordero wants to sign with us. We'll add him to the list. Um, Nomo and Daniels. So pretty good. And then you just hop in there. Um, you have a bonus allotment. I'm pretty sure it's random, but you'll. It's pretty easy once you get in there. The other good thing about these non-ranked guys, most of the time they're asking for a lot less money because they weren't highly touted. So you'll see the MLB suggested draft pick, the slot value is at 502. He's only asking, if you look at the bonus demand on the left hand side there, for 376. So we can still do the 502 or close to, and you'll end up right around your bonus allotment, usually under it, depending on who you draft. But you can kind of, give these guys a little bit more and sign them a little bit sooner. It's honestly completely random. Some guys want to sign right away. Some guys do not want to sign right away. Let's see if he wants this though. So he declined it. So we'll likely move him to the third spot, but we'll see if we can sign this guy. So again, he wants 3.1, and we're the slotted value is 4.08. So because he jumped up the draft board, we're getting for a little bit cheaper. So I can kind of get this higher up and see if he'll. So Robert Nomo signed. So that's our first round draft pick that just signed. So it's big news, big time, big time. All right. So and then Daniels was interested. Kind of curious to see where he's gonna be at. Let's see. So he's pretty close. So we can offer him pretty close, see if he wants it. So declined. And again, it's just kind of like give or take with these. Add your next guy up. It looks like we might have to do a little bit work with Rayleigh Thompson, so I might just add him in there and make sure that he is good to go. And I'm going to move him to first. So these guys are still going to, and what I can do actually is remove these guys since we know that their interest is up there, and get these guys going. I'm going to keep Daniels in there for now because you want their interest up. You can't offer them a contract until they're at least 50% interest. So we'll just advance, finalize the 3-day, and then I'm going to simulate one more day. And then what we're going to do now, it's the middle of the month. I don't want to miss out on really anybody that is potentially getting traded or, already traded. So I tend to look at my trades and I don't know, I make them all in like one day just because why not? And basically all that I do is I kind of go through. I mean, I know in my depth chart, I know who is kind of up on their contract, which is big. Like we're not gonna sign a lot of these guys. Elvis Andrews is kind of old. Naquin, Clevenger, he might ask for more money. it's baseball. So that's how the contracts kind of work. Grandal as well. So kind of aging guys. Clevenger is a little bit injury prone. Those are kind of the first guys that I look to potentially trade, um, just because I don't want to deal with the hassle of re-signing him, and especially like Arena. I don't even know if anybody will want him, but he might be like a second or third guy in you know in one of the trades here. And then two, we know we've got like a couple prospects. Gavin Sheets is out of position right now. He's playing first. And then Andrew Vaughn is at second. So we just did that to kind of try and get them better. There was an injury earlier in the season, and then that's kind of what they're doing. Elvis Andrews, uh, I mean, that's a tough one. We're paying him $15 million, and he's a 68. So, but the guy I'm kind of unsure of. I don't know if I want to keep both of these guys. He's still going up. He's very injury prone. And then Benintendi, great player, but I mean, we're paying him $15 million, and again, he's 73. He's 28. Jimenez is 26. So Jimenez kind of looks to have the upper hand there. Um, he's healthy this year, so maybe it's the time to trade him, or maybe he's turned the corner on his health. I don't know. And then another guy that is just kind of uh, you know in limbo for me is Moncada. He's 27. He's a B potential still at 75. I mean, he's a pretty good hitter. He's a shortstop, or he's a switch hitter. So, I mean, it's tough to doing the White Sox and not like a team that I actually follow, because I don't I don't really have any ties to the guys, so like I want to trade everybody. Um, but our team is they're the same player across the board. Low 70s, and basically guys that didn't reach their potential. Um, so this guy is really the guy that is the wild card in the entire thing, because he is a free agent. We're only paying him 1.5 million. He's the second best hitter on our team. Do we try and re-sign him? He's pretty decent, or do we try? I mean, he's only going to be in arbitration next year, or do we try to um, trade him for some big prospects? We're out of it. You got to think about it realistically in that sense too. And when you're talking about him, you got to talk about him too, Liam Hendricks, right? Aging guy. He's not moving up. He's not moving down. Uh, he might start to decline. So do we trade him now when his stock is high? I mean, to me, I think it makes sense. I think the game plan moving forward would be try to make 2 to 4 trades, um, and get some prospects that might be into the league in a year or two, and then hopefully we hit on. I think that closer is going to hit, and I think maybe the second baseman will hit from our draft. So we have 2 guys that could potentially fight for a starting spot somewhere next year. So we got 2 more guys, and then I think what we do is I think we're going to have to bring in our veterans through the free agent class. I haven't really taken a look at that. I usually don't until it just kind of pops up. Um, just going off of what's going on in the real world, I kind of know who's available. With that said, um, I think there's going to be a lot of moves to be made. Like, I think what I'm going to try and do, and what I typically do, if you just go to Trade Talks, so we know we want Trace Thompson to be traded, let's say. All right. Now, this is never not set in stone, but you can get a good idea of who you want. So then what I do is if I want something specific, let's say, I know Tim Anderson, we don't want him on the team come next year, or, he's going to be more of a utility guy. Basically what I do is I just go through the teams, and see guys that I like, and then you just test them out, right? So that he's, we think we should be getting more value than you're offering us. You can see that the bar went more black than it was when there was no one there in the Oriole orange or whatever. Um, so my rule to see if like a trade is worth pursuing is if you like we can do a guy from that team like Urias. So they're definitely interested in that. Doesn't always happen. Um, let's see if there's a guy we can find. So like Marcelo Mayer. Okay, so when there's no color showing, right? It's not on our side. It's not on the Red Sox side. That tells me all I got to do is add somebody else, and I can get this player. So you can go to literally, you can, I don't know what you want to call it, min max it or whatever, or, cheat the system. You can go off, you can just kind of go from the bottom here and see if they'll take anybody. You can do it that way. I try to make it seem a little bit more, um, realistic, but so if they want like a catcher, we'll see if they want like Riviero. No, I don't know if I want to give up Kiro. We could do Grandal and get rid of him as well. So there you go. That's 18 million plus our best player will get Marcelo Mayer, which is he's a 20 with 73 overall. I mean that's pretty decent. That guy will probably be playing for us next year. But I don't stop there usually. I usually like to bundle these um, and try and grab like a starting pitcher. So again, we're trying to go younger, prospect driven, team, and then we're going to have our veterans through the free agent market, right? That's what we discussed. So, their guy would be like Brian Bello. So you can see it did kind of move a little bit up top. So maybe Grandal's not that second guy. We can try and see. I mean, obviously you can get this deal done if you pick the right guys, right? But we want to maximize our potential that's going out and the potential that's coming in. Um, so we're not going to give up Corey Lee, but a place that we could look is like Arena. So there you go. Trace Thompson, Yasmani Grandal, and Jose Arena for a 23B that's a 77. So he's better than Arena. We're getting rid of Grandal because we know Corey Lee is, our catcher of the future. Caro's right behind him, and then our best player. So are we going to do this trade? I don't know. I mean, this is just an example. I'm surprised that it came out this quick. Um, but you got to think we're getting the B potential. Like I said, Bello is better than Arena, and then our shortstop is going to be our shortstop of the future. Ideally, and we're giving up Trace Thompson. So the reason why I say I don't know if we're going to do this, um, I just haven't gone through all the teams, right? Like you can keep those the same. I usually clear them, just because every team wants something different. But you just find guys that you want. You know, Volpe is a guy like I said it went black there. Um, Bichette, surprisingly is less. That's because he's cold. That's another thing about this. If you have guys that are hot going into the trade deadline, their market value goes way up. And conversely, if you like a guy like Bo Bichette, if he's cold going into the trade deadline, it's easier to get him off that team. So at least that's what I found, and it tends to work out. So like Gabriel Arias, I like to go after A potentials. Teams don't like to trade A potentials. So that's why I do the work. I mean, I really do like go through every team, and like that one's close because um, there's no movement of the bar there. So are we willing to give up Trace Thompson for 25-year-old Jeremy Pena? Right, we know about Jeremy Pena, uh, pretty highly touted prospect. He's 25, so then you just kind of, like I said, you go through here. It looks like they'll probably go for Grandal, and then you work off of that. And that's what I've always done. And then I try and just get more starting pitching. I hoard pitching in this game. they just are so valuable on so many different levels. Um, it just makes sense. Hunter Brown, again, good prospect. Maybe be another trade. Let's see, first baseman. Maybe we can get away with like something like this. See, there you go. So again, Grandal, we know we want to trade him anyways. Trace Thompson, Remillard for Jeremy Pena and Hunter Brown. I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to want Trace Thompson because he's having a killer year. 326, uh, 49 RBIs, 18 home runs at the break. And that's pretty good. Every team's going to want him. Do we want him? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, we have Gavin Sheets right behind him who's playing first base right now. Um, and we got him for a couple more years. But that's kind of what I do. So I'm going to take a look. Like I said, I think I know I want the guys I want to trade. Um, but for instance, if we get done, trading whoever, and I know I want to trade one of these guys, right? Andrus, Moncada, Anderson. Now, I really want to trade Elvis Andrus, but I doubt anyone's going to want to take him. That's when I kind of really dig in and kind of figure out the best way to get them off my team and just maximize the trade. So again, you can try and do it. We'll just go to a different team. You can try and do it, the way where, hey, I want a specific player, um, or anything like that. A lot of times it's a lot harder than that. Um, you can kind of see their value as you go and click on, like we want a catcher, like Max Stassi, like he's 32, like we're not gonna do that. Like Shea Langoliers, like they're not even gonna give him that. So Andres might not be the guy that's leading that pack, right? So you might have to have a Moncada on there, even though you only wanted to trade one of them, and an Elvis Andrus to get the players you want. If you really want them off your team that bad. So there's a lot of like playing around with what you can do and stuff like that. I a lot of times take you know an extended period of time to do this. Um, I don't know if I'm doing it too slow or too fast, but I'm very specific about the guys I want on my team, um, and it's easier just for me to kind of mess around with who I can get, And I mean, it's not this random, but once you make the trade for the shortstop, then you can say, all right, well, we got our position player, so maybe we'll try and do trade one of our starting pitching for a starting pitching. We want to trade Clevenger. Um, can we trade him for a younger guy, or do it starting pitching for a position player and vice versa? But there's a lot of looking around. There's a lot of you know seeing what's out there, and in the end, I think it's worth it to spend the time. You might lose an extra hour or two. I haven't looked too much at exactly what we want to do. Not I know what we want to do, um, but I haven't looked too much at the other side of things of who's out there for us to get. Um, if I were to guess, I'd say I'm going to try and get probably a shortstop. It seemed as though we might be able to get Trace Thompson for a pretty legit shortstop. So we might do like a shortstop uh, starting pitching like duo there. Hopefully we can get maybe two A's for Trace Thompson. And then we're probably going to trade one of our infielders. I'll probably leave Vaughn where he is. And then I'll probably also leave Sheets where he is. I mean, he's not an infielder. He's just playing infield right now. So we'll probably leave Sheets and Vaughn alone. Um, and then that left side and now our backup second baseman Elvis Andrus. those are the guys we're kind of look for to get out of here. And then, like I said, Trace Thompson, it looks like we can get quite a bit for him. So I think I'm going to trade him away, and then maybe one of um, our left fielders. I might, if we'll just take a look at the. I might move Benintendi to right. We did draft that left fielder. I don't think he's the guy right now. We also have Naquin. He might kind of just fall off, or might be another piece. Um, so those are kind of the guys. You can see there's kind of a lot of guys I'm looking to trade. The reason why it's a lot is because I don't think I'm going to be able to trade them all. But that's kind of the idea, right? You kind of trade the guys you can, keep the guys you know you want, and then see where you end up. Again, Grandal, another guy that is probably gone. And then our pitching, Clevenger and Arena are probably the only two guys. We do have quite a bit of prospects. I think that we can maybe package with, but Arena and Clevenger, I think, are the two guys that I know I want kind of off my team. Clevenger, love him to death, but I just think his injury history, he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year, and he's aging. So those three things, two things, kind of turn me off of him right there. So we'll see what we can do, and then Liam Hendricks. If I get what I want out of my trades, um, as far as all the players I want without having to trade Liam Hendricks, I'll keep him on the team. And two, you gotta think with these guys. You can trade these guys in the off season. You can trade them at the beginning of next year. The only thing is the guys that are on a contract year likely won't be there because you don't want them on your team anyways, unless you want to re-sign them just to trade them. That's kind of why we want to, you know, flush them out. So Hendricks, I'm kind of on the fence about. It looks like Crochet isn't doing as well as we thought. I thought he might be like a 78, but 76 it's okay. So we'll look to probably trade Hendricks if we need to. But we're looking at a lot of these guys moving. We can tell just from the couple that we looked at. We can get a shortstop, 20-year-old shortstop in there pretty easy. Like I said before, I don't care if the guy's 18, 19, or 20. You know, I'm actually more willing to do that than to bring in a 36-year-old Elvis Andrews, 34-year-old Elvis Andrews. Much rather have the 20-year-old. So probably bring in a shortstop. Probably look for an outfield bat, and then a lot of starting pitching depth as far as prospects. What I'm looking for with the starting pitching is guys that either can be on the roster right now, right? We still have free agency, so they might drop out of there, or guys that are going to be on the roster September call up or beginning of the following year. So that's kind of where I'm looking all over the board. Um, what it becomes is kind of if your draft is, hey, these guys are going to be 3 years out. We're looking for guys that are 2 years out at the trade deadline. And then free agency is 1 year out or 0 years out, right? They're playing right away. So you're kind of building those 3 years each year. Now, obviously, with the draft, like our second baseman, because our team is weak, he might start, our closer might start, and who knows? Maybe that left fielder ends up being a steal, and he could start too. So you will have some of those guys that kind of surpass that, but that's kind of what I look for. And then if they don't, fit in that window, they're either tradable or you just hold on to them and maybe they'll hit next year or the year after. So what I'm going to do now is, like I said, it does take me kind of a long time just because I mess with it. I'm all over the place with, going back and forth, um, and just trying to find the right combinations. So let me get to that, and then I'll kind of before I do each trade, I'm going to show you kind of my thought process with that, and then hopefully, hopefully we'll put together a squad that I'm proud of, and And yeah, let me get to work here. Okay, so I did my trade research, and it's going to be a little more difficult to get exactly what we want. I think we can um, make some moves though, and kind of turn it around a little bit. I think there's going to be a little bit more risk involved. The reason for that being is just because um, when you look at our depth chart, um, we don't really have a lot to trade away to get anything in return. So the guys that we do have are either the prospects coming up or the guys currently playing. With that being said, the prospects coming up aren't ready for the majors, so we can't trade our guys away and pull up our um, guys in the minors just yet. So we're kind of in a tough spot because um, we need players to stay competitive, but I still want to go younger and have them kind of develop. So I think my plan here is to um, focus on one area and make sure we get that strong while still getting guys to start. Um, and I'm going to try and keep those guys young as well. I think I did that pretty well. Um, and then what we're going to do is during the off season we'll address more specifically the positions. I just think there's less risk with the starters. So if we can kind of get some young guys in there, um, that are possibly going to be on our roster right away, because that's the main thing, right? We got to give our guys time in the minors to develop, but we also have to build the minors because their minor league system is also very bad. So they're in a pretty tough spot here. A lot of teams that aren't doing very well have young guys that are a year or two out. We have a couple young guys that are a year or two out. We can look in the trade screen at that, but um, basically we picked that guy up, so he's probably someone we're going to hang on to. He's doing pretty well, as well as Dylan Cease. We just hope that he re-signs with us. After that, though, we really don't have much until Kopech, who's an aging, prospect, anyways. And that's kind of how it is throughout the board. We have Garcia, but he's not going to be able to start for us next year. Um, Same thing with you know a lot of our positions here. Second base, you know, we don't have a second baseman. That's why we're playing our first baseman at second base right now. So it's a tricky situation. We're pretty stacked at third base, so I'm okay with that. The only issue is um, we have a shortstop. He's about a year away, so that's good. We don't need to focus too much on shortstop. But third base, we're probably gonna have to move one of these guys, but both of them aren't ready next year unless they take a giant leap. So we'll probably hang on to Moncada for the time being. As far as the outfield, it's kind of what I was talking about with the pitching, right? You have these guys that are 26, 28, and we're paying them some money, and they're how much more are they going to grow for your team? Not much. So obviously we have Luis Robert. He's kind of the catalyst of the whole thing. That's what we're going to build around. But after that, there's really nothing. Sheets is another thing there. We have Thompson on a 1 year deal, and he's having a killer year. 326, 18 jacks, 49 RBIs. I mean that's playing much better than I think he is. So that's a guy that we can probably get a lot for. So that being said, I'm going to show you these trades that I came up with, and I think I did a good job. The first one is actually just with the Orioles, but it involves Trace Thompson. And then basically what I do with most of my trades um, is they have to be weighted, or else it's very hard to get, kind of what you want. Um, in this case, we're trading away like our starters instead of, maybe a guy. I mean, the only prospect that's realistically, you know, worth trading is possibly one of these guys because there's only room for one. But I want as many prospects as possible right now. So um, really, it's kind of tricky. We gotta hope we can find prospects in the off season, but um, so I always weight them. I involved Tim Anderson, and then I did involve a third base prospect, but it was Brian Ramos. So He's a guy that probably isn't going to see, a lot of time with us. So we did that. And then, as I said, I really wanted to build around starting pitching. So Grayson Rodriguez, you can see they're interested in that deal. And then I always combo it with hopefully another prospect. Um, in this case, with our best player, essentially out, tradable player, I wanted another A potential. So I went with Colton Cowser. So the reason for that is we obviously have a vacancy in right field. Our outfield is pretty deep. However, the guys behind um, a lot of our guys, like Gavin Sheets, probably is more of DH first base in my mind, and Eloy Jimenez, same thing. I don't really know if he has a position. So we want to get better on defense as well. If you see his fielding is at 46, so um, we're going to go ahead and do that trade. So that's two A's, and we're giving up quite a lot. But as I said, this year is a throwaway year, so we'll go ahead and make that trade. And then I'm going to show you my next trade, which is kind of the same thing. But that was the big one. That's the one where I was able to get two guys that are A potential, and then I'm pretty happy with getting Grayson Rodriguez. That's like a legit number two that we can have for years to come. You know, with Cease re-signing. Okay, um, so I think that was a good deal for the future. Didn't give up really anybody that I was dead set on. With that being said, we do now have a vacancy at shortstop, right? We do have our young kid that we can bring up. Um, the only thing is I want him to stay down, in the minors as long as possible. So where do we turn? I'm going to show you this next trade here in a sec. All right, so the next trade involves the Dodgers, and again, keep in mind we want starting pitching first and foremost. So, who I involved in this? Unfortunately, um, I had to involve Liam Hendriks. The kind of the turning point for me was the salary. Basically, paying him for another year on that salary. My guess is he's going to drop in production. He might go up one more year, but at age 34, it's really tough to say. Um, I hope we can address that in the offseason. We do have Stevie Cabrera, and then we did draft another closer. So we should have a good mix of closers. Hopefully, a couple of the guys we can bring up right away. I don't think they're really going to amount to Hendricks, but um, we can find a way to kind of fill the gap until those guys are up to speed. So it involved Hendricks, and then this guy's a no-brainer. He's not even starting. We're paying $15 million, so Elvis Andrus, and again, he's not going to be with the team next year. So does the $15 million really matter? Probably not as much, but it's just less we have to worry about, and we might as well get something for him now, right? If he can be added to a trade, and then we don't have to worry about the stuff in the off season, that's fine. And then the last guy is probably the only real prospect that I included in any of this, um, and that's Oscar Colas. So the reason for that was I think what I'm going to have to do is in free agency go out and get an outfielder. Just kind of what I'm looking at as far as after these trades are done. We'll kind of take a look again. But with that being said, we have next year's draft as well, and I'm probably going to go heavy in outfield anyways. So if we were to get a guy, in the first round that is already better than him, he kind of goes by the wayside. So ideally, he would have been good to trade maybe down the road. Ideally, it would be great if he was a 75, but he's not. So that's really the only prospect that I had to get rid of. Um, so this was a tough trade with with Hendricks in there as well. But I think what we're getting, um, makes up for that. So the first guy I included was Dustin May. He's kind of in a tricky contract spot right now. In this game, he's facing arbitration next year, so he might ask for some money. I'm okay with that because that gives us a three-headed monster at the top um, that are all super young. I think we don't need to rely as heavily on the top tier guys in the free agency. We can get a guy maybe a little bit lower, and that's best case scenario with these guys progressing year after year. Um, so I think it kind of builds a good three-man rotation at the top, um, and I think we can you know really turn that into something special, and then just kind of not have to and not to be desperate for one of the starting pitching players on the market. I think this year, big one was like Snell, and then some guys overseas, but those guys want a lot of money, and they're hard to sign, as we could see this year. So um, you know, pitchers want a lot of money, and as they get older in age, that they become more volatile. So I think getting a young staff, I think will do us some good. And then the next guy, I said we had that vacancy at shortstop. So the guy we included was Gavin Lux. He's 25. The big thing I like about him is he's versatile, so he can play all over the place. With our shortstop coming up, hopefully next year, we can move him around and kind of have him be kind of a if we decide to trade away Moncada next year, he can move over to third. Or if our the second baseman we drafted, needs a year, he can move to second. So kind of a guy that I think it makes our team better. It gives us a bona fide starter right away, which I think is big. It's an upgrade for us at short and an upgrade for us at pitching. So we gave up a little bit, and we got a little bit of work to do with these guys once we get them on our team. But I think it'll work out in the end. So we're gonna go ahead and make this trade. And then the last trade, um, I wasn't sure if I wanted to make it, but the thing about it was with those guys, with their contracts and stuff like that. I really wanted to dump some salaries, or make sure guys that were free agents that we weren't going to re-sign. They didn't necessarily have to have big time salaries, but what I did was I kind of went through the teams, and I thought about getting prospects, um, but in the end, what I decided to do um, was kind of do the same thing, just kind of a tier below, right? So we had one trade with two A prospects coming over, one with an A and a B prospect. Both were under 25. I think both May and um, Lux are right at 25, but um, I really was kind of looking for best available for the guys I'm gonna trade right now. So we're gonna go with Clevenger here first. Just his salary at the $12 million. I don't know if he's gonna ask for that again. He's having an okay year. 4.61 is a little high. So again, with the guys that we just traded for, I don't know if there's we're gonna be room if he shows any decline. So we kind of want him off the books. And then the next guy, um, I just have a feeling Grandal is going to retire in this game. He's not really our starter anymore, anyways. So, $18.3 million, we could probably get him for hardly anything. The problem is when guys start to decline in this game, they decline fast, like real fast. With a declining player, get him off your team, because you're probably not going to resign him unless you really have a soft spot for him. And then we do have Cuero coming up. Again, for me, catchers are just so difficult in this game, um, but we're going to include him just because of the fact that he is declining, and we can get him at trade him at a 70 right now. And then the next guy I went with, I decided to go with Benintendi. I'd probably rather have Benintendi on my team over Jimenez. Um, However, in this simulation here, Jimenez is kind of turning it around a little bit. Um, his durability is at a 76, so I'm okay with keeping him on the team. He's 2 years younger as well, so um, we have both of these guys locked up for a long time. So this is strictly a salary dump. So when I see the 15 million over the 5.7, granted, I believe his goes up each year. It was just a no brainer to include him. Problem was who can I find that is going to have the budget to do this, and then also who's going to take three aging guys, all respectively different. 28, Clevenger's I think 32, and then Grandal, close to retiring. So I really had to find teams that were willing to do it. There were certain teams that, even with the same, quality of player, weren't willing to. So I did find the Red Sox, and I think I found a trade that is pretty beneficial to me. It includes Brian Bello, who's 23 with a B potential. But that's 77 overall. He's going to be a starter probably for us at least this year and the rest of this year and next year. So now we have like a fourth guy in there, and it really takes the pressure off our prospects and things of that nature. So two, we can also have him develop if we go after starting pitching, because he's only 23. So I think having him on the team, also his contract there, is renewable after this year, so it's a good thing to have. And then after him, I went back and forth. Um, it was really difficult to get anything above a B potential. Kind of wanted to maybe have somebody at second base for this year, um, but with Lux on the team, um, and not a lot of second basemen out there. What I found was in center field with Rafaela. He's 22 years old, a B potential. He's only 72 overall, but he can't play that second base position right now. So with Andrus off the team and Anderson off the team, we really don't have a middle infield. We do have um, Vaughn playing there now, but with this move, we can kind of put him. I mean, ideally, I would want him down, getting reps and getting better. But with this trade, what we can do is move him to second, and then he can potentially stay there next year. Um, it gives us more options to see kind of where everything's going. And then with Cowser too, we have three really pretty good defensive uh, outfielders that really bolster our defense for us in the outfield too. So we went younger. We didn't necessarily get any better here. Um, I think the one thing we did was basically have to throw in Grandal, and Benintendi's a pretty decent player, but he's older, and it just, with the salary cap, I mean, just look at what we're giving to them, $45 million in salary. So I know two of those guys are free agents, but it's going to free us up to make maybe a big move. I don't think Shohei. I know he's going to be probably restricted, and um, I think this for right now. I think this is where we get better, and then what we can look at is the guys that we brought over, the three position players that we're kind of on the fence about. We can see how they do, and who knows, maybe one of them, takes off. I mean, Lux is still young enough. I think he could possibly get better. So we're gonna make that move. So I mean, we just completely changed the team. So now we're gonna look and just make sure our guys are kind of where they need to be. If you go into your roster, obviously it's going to tell you about the trades. Red Sox accepted, Dodgers accepted, and the Orioles accepted. So all three teams accepted. The only thing is we just got to make sure the guys are up that we want up, and you just kind of tweak your lineups um, to where everyone's starting. So this will be the fun part, because we're gonna see kind of where our team's at. But I mean, look at that starting pitching comparatively. Our next guy was Clevenger, 33 years old, and we got three guys coming in, all 25 and under, all 77 or above, as well as our guy that we had signed in free agency at a 76 with a B potential. So that gives me hope. Ideally, I'd like to have guys in the 90s and stuff like that, but we don't have the guys to trade for those guys at this moment. So that's why I cleared the books, or try to clear, as much fog out of the air, so that way we can really make a push in free agency. Shortstop, we went out and got Gavin Lux, so he's going to be our everyday shortstop for this year. Next year, it's going to become a little bit more tricky. We have Jacob Gonzalez. Again, what we can do with Gavin Lux is move him over to third if we decide to get rid of Moncada. Hopefully, Jacob Gonzalez starts progressing a little bit more faster rate, and he can be our starter next year. Center fielder is going to look pretty stacked right now. The Unfortunately, we can't really develop the guys behind Luis Robert. Um, with Rafaela and Kauser, it gives me more liberty to move these guys around. They're young enough that I can switch their position, and I can play them at either position. Uh, Rafaela has a little bit more versatility, but we're going to move him to the infield probably for the remainder of the year. Hopefully, again, they're young enough to where they develop and they don't get overwhelmed by the major leagues. But that was kind of the cards that I was dealt, and I hope that these guys pan out in a good way and don't decline because they're overmatched. And then right field, we still do have Gavin Sheets. Again, we have two kind of young studs coming up that can take his position. I imagine him to be more of a first baseman, anyways. Um, but but for the time being, we're probably going to have to stick him in right field. I don't know actually who has the better. Let's just see. Gavin Sheets 48 fielding, so he has DH written all over him. Eloy Jimenez is a 46. So we're probably gonna have to take the hit this year as far as an outfielder. We can always move up Naquin for another bat or another really defensive guy, um, but he's not much better. Um, it's unfortunate that well, I shouldn't say it's unfortunate. My idea of putting a better prospect in their position to finish out the year, I think, is a safer bet than having Gavin Sheets play right field full time. Um, so now we'll spell them and we'll move guys around and stuff like that. But um, that's basically the gist of it. Obviously, you can kind of see the holes already that we want to address in the off season. Um, but what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to set my lineups. I'm going to make sure that the guys I got in the trade play as much as possible, especially the position players, just because I want to see what they can do, and then at the end of the year we can kind of reassess. But I think just kind of looking at it, I'm pretty happy with the moves that were made. I think overall, um, just the potential of the team with the age now, it makes a little bit more sense with where the White Sox are supposed to be, right? If they're that bad and they're rebuilding, you can't have guys that are 28, 29 years old that are 71, 72 with B potential, right? It doesn't really make sense. So this way we got what they should have at the beginning of the season. So I said this was kind of a throwaway year, and that was kind of why I wanted to get guys in that to make it look like a truly rebuilding team. Now we're not stacked by any means, but we have the potential to get better, and then we can add pieces as we go along and make sure that these guys end up being the team that can challenge for the playoffs and stuff like that. So I think getting younger was the first part. We also kind of as much as I hate to say it, but got rid of some dead weight. So we're gonna have guys playing that can get better in the foreseeable future, not guys playing that are likely going to decline soon. Like I said, there are holes, so there's still a lot of work to be done. But as far as kind of the baseline of the team, I feel like it's in a little better spot. It makes it a lot more exciting moving forward, and I think I'm going to simulate to the end of the season now, where there's not really much else. I think what we'll do, there's going to be the re-signing period. I probably won't stop it there. If anything big happens, I can catch you up once we get to the off season. Really, it's just going to be anybody that is probably over 60. You can always cut them later. I'm not one of those guys that's worried about the penalty hit when you cut somebody, um, especially if we're signing them for like $70,000 or something. So I'm probably signing just about everybody. We'll catch back up at the end of the year. Okay, so I got all my draft picks signed. It is the 2nd of August, so not too much time has passed. We've done pretty good since the All Star break with our new people we acquired, but I have not looked at my draft picks yet. So I thought I'd stop it here and show you guys who we got. So without further ado, let's take a look at our draft picks here. Okay, so Robert Nomo, 73 overall. That's actually probably a little lower than I had anticipated, but still that's pretty good for a first rounder. His potential's at an A. So if you see there, the actual potential's at a 90. So pretty good first round draft pick. Pretty happy about that. And then the next guy here, also an A. He was our JUCO guy. We kind of filled the slot in there. We didn't have a position player, so not bad. He's a 60 overall. He's 20 years old, so it's going to take a lot for him to kind of make an impact in the next couple years. It might take him, 5 or 6. This guy, he might, just based on where we're at, he might be on the team next year. Ideally, I'd like him to get some time in the minors with his overall rating. Let's see where he's at. I mean, his discipline and vision are both above 50. That's kind of my threshold there. So, I mean, he looks pretty decent as far as game ready for the majors. So, not bad. And then Robert Daniels, we went in the third. He's tied for the best potential here. Um, I'm actually surprised we got 4 A's in this draft. Pretty good, considering I thought it was a little bit of a lesser draft. So um, I think maybe we got better potential and less as far as the overall stats. But Ronald Daniels, he's 18, he's at 61, but he's a 96 potential. So that's a guy that we can have in left field, years down the road. I like that pick. I'm glad I stretched for him there, and didn't deviate from my plan. I know I wanted a left fielder, so I'm happy I hit on my left fielder there. And then our closing pitcher, I mean, we could have seen this coming. Cordero, we had him 6 overall, 94 potential, 69 overall rating. He is 21, so he'll have to kind of make the move a little bit quicker. But again, that's kind of exactly what we wanted there. So happy with that. Again, that was that non-ranked guy that popped into our queue. So we were able to get him in the fourth. We had him as the 6th best overall prospect. So pretty good here. And then this is kind of the wild card. This was the guy that's hurt. So I haven't gotten any other notifications or anything. I've never drafted anybody hurt because I want to stay away from as much as possible. But I mean, the dude, if he's healthy, stands a chance to be pretty decent. I mean, 56 overall. He's got some work to do there, but not bad. And then this guy he wasn't necessarily on our radar. We had kind of run out of the guys we were really looking for. He was on our list, so he's a 56 overall. He's only a C potential. Likely this guy's not gonna make it, which is unfortunate. But 4 A's, or 5 A's. I don't know if I've ever done that before. Usually I have, like depending on the picks. Usually it's a good mix of A's and B's, maybe a C in there, but pretty decent. My guys have good potential, but 3 of them were in college, so that kind of helped me out, helped my cause with getting those A's. If they were 18, they likely would have been B's, but and 2, they got lesser time to kind of develop, right? Because they start to deteriorate after a while. But overall, I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know if we got exactly what we wanted as far as Nomo's close to maybe being in the majors, but we'll just kind of see how it goes. So I thought I'd show you guys that, and then yeah. So I'll probably stop it on September call-ups. I might, but let me get going on that. We'll see what our team does. They've actually done a little bit better than what I had anticipated off the break. I think that pitching is just carrying us right now. So we'll see where our draft pick ends and where our final standing is. Um, let me simulate some more, and we'll probably check out the call ups here. Okay, so we simulated through the regular season, and as expected, we did not make the playoffs. We did have a couple of pretty big injuries that kind of uh, allowed some players to play. One was Luis Robert breaking his wrist, which was devastating because I want him to, progress as much as possible. But basically, we had the last 2 months, or August was absolutely terrible. We ended up 66 and 96, which was good for, let's see, so fourth place. So we have, with the 66 wins, let's just see, two, three teams with better odds to get a higher draft pick. So we stand a pretty good chance to get in the top five. So not bad. The other injury we had, though, allowed for, with our September call ups, when Gavin Lux went down, it allowed us to play our number one prospect. I didn't see how he did. So not too good. He played like the last week and a half. So he didn't really do well. And then some of our other guys we picked up, Rafaela, of course, was playing second base, struggled a bit as well. He is still trending upward, which is really good. I believe we got him at a 72, so he's already up to 74. We might, based on the draft we just had, we might just move him full time to second base. That way he's not. I feel like when you play players in different positions, you kind of get that same kind of diminishing return that you do from Diamond Dynasty. So um, I don't know if that's you know true or not, but it just kind of seems that way because we had the other guy we had was Kauser. He was playing left. We did move him to center when Luis Robert went down. I kept him in left for a little bit, just to see how he'd do, and he struggled, but then kind of started to come on late. So again, a guy we got as a 71, he's a 73. And then our other guys we got, as I said, Lux got hurt, but before he got hurt, he put up okay numbers. We're not expecting him to be a middle of the lineup type of guy. We're expecting him to be kind of a platoon player. Speaking of platoon player, that is what he agreed to with his contract. I was able to re-sign most of the big guys, most specifically our starting pitchers. So I decided not to move up Cabrera with our closing pitchers in the September call-ups. I just want him to get as much stats as he can down below, and as you can see, he ended up actually kind of surpassing Bummer as the closer as far as overall rating. So we still might move Crochet there full time. We did have him playing over there. He ended up with 18 saves from the All Star break on, so pretty decent. I think he might be able to be our guy. Still kind of a lot of walks, and then that ERA is kind of high, but stuff to work with. Then our starting pitchers, Cease was the big guy that we signed. We kind of bypassed his arbitration year and signed him to a 4-year deal, just because it saved us a little bit of money. And then we had Dustin May, pretty good season overall. 3.10 ERA, not bad. Strikeouts I'd like to get a little bit higher than 113, but overall pretty decent. Again, we got him as a 83, and he's at 85. So pretty good there. Obviously these change, with the off season and stuff like that, but trending in the right direction is what I want to see. And then Grayson Rodriguez, not as good a season as I would have liked him to have. He was having kind of the same season with the Orioles, but the potential is there. He did bump up to 79, but still needs to work on that ERA. Looks pretty decent, trending okay. His whip is okay, on par with these guys. So not too bad. And then Brian Bello was the last guy we got. And Brian Bello had bumped up one. He was kind of really a guy that we got just to unload our money in the guys that we weren't going to re-sign. So not too bad. Again, I still think these guys are probably four guys that are gonna kind of be the stable. And then with Dennis Shell coming up, we might not have to go after a starting pitcher in free agency, which is good because then we can focus, where we really need the help, which is in our position players. Um, so with the season done, I think overall it's a success. We're just going to kind of sim through here just to see, who wins the whole thing for fun. Kind of, where do these go? I'll probably, fast forward through this, but we'll get an idea of kind of what's going on with the playoffs here. So the Rays winning in 7 games. So that's pretty good. That'll be fun to kind of play them next year, being in the NL. Although the schedules now you play everybody, but so that's the end of the season. Um, Basically, what's next is we sim to the off season. But next episode, what I'd like to get to, obviously the off season program, which is kind of extensive. It does take a lot of time, so there'll be a lot of fast forwarding and stuff like that. But the big thing is, what we're gonna do is we're gonna probably wipe clean our coaches and kind of try and get better coaches first and foremost. The reason I do that is when you go to sign players or re-sign players even, it helps to have a good coaching staff. Some players look for that when they're signing with your team. So we'll do that first and foremost. And then the big thing is the free agency. I think I'm going to try and get at least one big bat to help Luis Robert out in the middle of that lineup. Maybe two. We talked about maybe moving Rafael to second base. We might get an infielder and move him there. I don't know if Gonzalez is ready for the majors just yet. We'll just kind of have to, play it by ear and see. But it'll be exciting to kind of mold our new team for the beginning of the season and kind of see what we can do. Obviously, I would love to play Gonzalez and have him in the lineup. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We might make a trade and add that way. Just kind of depends on what we're going to do. We'll go through that offseason program, and then from there, we'll probably sim through spring training, and then I'll play my first game with the new look White Sox with a new coaching staff, and looks to be maybe 4 or 5 starters from last year, if that. So it'll be kind of fun to to kind of dissect the team and see where we're at from last year. I think it's going to be significantly better. It may take one additional year as far as getting our prospects up. We have our middle infield now. It looks like middle infield of the future. Now we got to kind of work on our corner guys. We traded for a couple outfielders, and then we also traded for kind of a utility guy. So those guys can play the corner slots, but really we need help in the infield too. So need help everywhere. Looking way ahead, with all that, because ideally we'd like maybe a power hitting first baseman, and we still got Moncada and Eloy Jimenez on our team too. So we could kind of develop into something if we get a couple bats. I'm looking at maybe let's just take a look for the next year here. So this obviously isn't completely accurate, but basically they don't have Cowser making the team next year. We'll see where we're at. I wouldn't hurt to put him in AAA for a little while. Doesn't do anything harmful. They say Gonzalez is going to kind of challenge for that shortstop spot, and then they did keep Rafaela at second base, so he's got a bump there. But you can see just all around, don't have a lot to go off of. Eloy Jimenez, they have Cowser playing third actually, with Colson Montgomery. So they did have Cowser on the team. We can move him to left. my guess is with the defense in the outfield, we can't have him play third. Um, Moncada, they have him moving to DH. We'll likely move either Eloy or Gavin to DH. We might leave Moncada at third, but um, basically we need a couple guys, right? Vaughn did not progress. His potential went down. Um, maybe a guy off the bench that can play. He's kind of a utility guy too. But ideally, maybe these two slots is where we go. Maybe those are the two guys that we try and track down and get a right fielder and a first baseman. I like where our pitching's at. I don't like where our lineup is. Main thing though for next episode, free agency, finding some bats, helping out our middle of the lineup because we don't really have one right now. So I think a lot will depend on that free agent market, where the direction of our team is going. If we have a good free agent signing period and all goes well, I think we can for sure make the playoffs. Obviously, I'd like to be a little bit better at this point, but we do have that foundation there too, with a little bit more prospects that we can make the trades and get some guys in that maybe we couldn't have gotten last year. We didn't trade any of the prospects that we had signed in the beginning, so we got all those guys, and then we basically traded for some prospects at the trade deadline. So it'll be exciting. Like I said, that free agent signing period is key for our team, and I'm curious to see kind of what our team looks like. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Help me out there. If you have any questions, comments, tips, anything you want to leave down in the comments, I'll try to respond to as many as possible. But other than that, we'll see you next time for a big time off season, big time free agency, and we will be playing opening day of 2024 for our new look White Sox. See you guys.